The function gets is declared in the old header stdio.h, as char star gets open parenthesis char star s close parenthesis semicolon. It takes one argument, a pointer to a character array, a buffer where the line will be stored, and returns the same pointer if the read succeeds or null on error or end of file. Internally gets reads characters from standard input until it encounters a new line or end of file. Then it replaces the new line with a null terminator. The crucial problem is that gets does not know the size of the buffer. Imagine a bucket with no measuring marks. You keep pouring water, input characters, until the rain new line stops, but the bucket may overflow if more water arrives than it can hold. In C, this overflow overwrites adjacent memory, leading to undefined behavior. The program may crash, corrupt data, or open security holes. Because of this danger, the C11 standard removed gets from the language, and modern compilers issue a warning or error if you try to use it. The function puts is also declared in stdio.h as inputs const char star s. It receives a pointer to a null terminated string and prints the characters to standard output. After printing the characters, puts automatically adds a new line character, so you never have to write \n yourself. The return value is non-negative on success, often the number of characters written, but the standard only guarantees it is not EOF, and EOF typically -1 if an error occurs, such as a write failure to a closed file or a full disk. Think of puts like a conveyor belt that moves a package the string onto a table the screen, and then places a separator line new line for the next package. If the belt breaks IO error, the function signals the problem by returning EOF. The prototype of strlen is size_t strlen of const char star s. It receives a pointer to a null terminated string and returns the number of characters before the terminating null byte. The algorithm is simple. Start a counter at 0, examine each byte s of I in order, stop when you find \0 and return the counter. Size t I equals 0, while s of I is not \0, increment I, return I. Because each character is examined exactly once, the time complexity is O of n, where n is the length of the string. If you picture the string as a line of people waiting to exit a room, strlen counts each person until it sees the exit sign, the null terminator. The function does not count the exit sign itself, so the result is the number of visible people. Mathematically, if s is a sequence s of 0 to s of n-1 with s of n equals \0, then strlen of s equals n. The safe replacement for gets is fgets, declared as char asterisk fgets open parenthesis char asterisk s comma int n comma file asterisk stream close parenthesis semicolon. The second argument n tells fgets the maximum number of characters it may store, including the terminating null byte. Thus fgets will never write past s plus n-1. It reads up to n-1 characters, or stops earlier if a new line or end of file is encountered. If a new line is read, it is kept in the buffer, unlike gets, which discards it, and then terminated with \0. Char line open bracket 20 close bracket semicolon comment read at most 19 characters, leaving room for \0. If fgets open parenthesis line comma size of line comma stdin close parenthesis not equal to null, then open brace comment line may end with \n close brace. Think of fgets as a bucket with a ruler on its side. You tell it fill me but stop at the 19 mark. This prevents overflow. After reading, you often remove the trailing new line with line open bracket strcspn open parenthesis line comma \quote n backquote close parenthesis close bracket equals \0 semicolon. So that later functions like puts behave as expected. In C, a string is not a special type. It is simply an array of char that ends with a null terminator \0. The null byte tells every string handling routine where the data stops. If the terminator is missing or misplaced, functions such as string length, print formatted %s, or string copy will continue reading past the intended end, leading to undefined behavior, possible crashes, or data leaks. For example, if you have char a square bracket 5 close bracket equals double quote a b double quote, the memory looks like a then b then \0 then unknown. The \0 at index 2 marks the end, so string length of a returns 2. If you forget the terminator and the next byte happens to be non-zero, string length will keep counting until it eventually hits a random \0, giving a larger wrong length. Therefore, always guarantee that a string is properly terminated, especially after manual copying or reading with gets, which can omit the terminator if overflow occurs. A typical exam question asks you to read a line from the user using gets. Immediately echo the line with puts. Print the line's length using string slength. A minimal program looks like: include standard input-output header, include string header, int main void open brace, character buffer of size 100 comment, assume the line is less than 100 characters. If gets buffer equals null open brace, return 1 comment error or end of file. Close brace, puts buffer comment prints the line plus new line. Print open quote length equals %zu backslash and quote comma string s length buffer close parenthesis semicolon. Return 0 semicolon. Close brace. The logic mimics a real-world conversation: someone says a sentence input comma, the system repeats it back output comma, and then tells how many words or letters it contained length. The key points the examiner checks are: correct use of each function comma understanding, that gets returns the same pointer comma, that puts adds a new line automatically comma, and that string s length measures characters up to, but not including the null terminator. When analyzing strlen, consider 3 special situations. Empty string, the array contains only the null byte. For example, char s open bracket 1 close bracket equals \0 semicolon. strlen of s returns 0 because the loop stops immediately. It is the base case of the counting algorithm. Maximum buffer size. Suppose you have char big open bracket 1000 close bracket semicolon filled completely with 999 printable characters followed by a \0. strlen of big will be 999, and the function still runs in 999 time, which is linear in the buffer size. If the buffer lacks a terminating null, for example due to overflow, strlen will keep scanning beyond the array, causing undefined behavior. Non-ASCII multibyte characters, strlen counts bytes, not visual characters. In UTF-8, a character like acute occupies 2 bytes, 0xC3 space 0x9. strlen will count 2 even though the user perceives 1 glyph. To count actual Unicode code points, you would need functions like mbstokes or libraries that understand multibyte encodings. This distinction is important when the exam asks for number of characters. In C, strlen gives the byte length, not the displayed character count. Explanation: multiple choice questions often trap students with subtle details. Return value of puts. Many think puts returns the number of characters printed, but the C standard only guarantees a non-negative value on success and end of file on failure. Therefore, an answer stating the length of the string is wrong. Behavior of gets on end of file. If end of file is encountered before any characters are read, gets returns null. If end of file occurs after some characters, for example, the file does not end with a new line, gets still returns the pointer to the partially read string. This nuance is frequently tested. strlen and embedded nulls. If a string contains a \0 byte before the final terminator, for example char s6 equals open brace quote comma quote b quote comma \0 comma quote c quote d quote comma \0 close brace semicolon, strlen of s stops at the first \0 and returns 2 ignoring the later characters. Some options suggest that strlen would count all bytes up to the last null. That is incorrect. Understanding that the null byte is the first sentinel is essential.